My stepbrother kicked me out because he couldn't handle my condition. I have skin hunger, severe touch starvation. Without physical contact, I feel like I'm burning alive. So I found a roommate, a hacker, quiet, mysterious, and an incredible cook. One night while eating his turisu, glowing text floated across my vision like a Twitch chat. Run, girl, he's a yandra. There are handcuffs under his pillow. He fantasizes about chaining you to his bed. Every night you're still eating. Once you're full, it's his turn to feast. That night someone kissed me in the dark. I shivered with excitement. Before my mom and stepdad left for their world tour, they told my stepbrother Ethan to take care of me, but my skin hunger was flaring up. Every night was torture. To cope, I took scalding hot showers until my skin was raw and red. Ethan hated it. He banged on the bathroom door. Serena, how many showers are you going to take? Are you that dirty? I turned off the tap. Guilty. I just don't feel well. I craved touch desperately. The hot water was a poor substitute, but it was all I had. What's wrong with you? Ethan's voice was low. I wrapped a towel around myself and opened the door. He stared at my flushed skin, frowning. Are you trying to boil yourself alive? The hot water, it helps. I whispered, my eyes misty. You're weird. Stop it. He looked away, but I saw the tips of his ears turn red as he turned to leave. I grabbed his arm. Ethan, wait, can you? I bit my lip. Ethan stopped. He looked at my hand on his arm. Can I what? Can you hug me? The silence stretched for 30 seconds. Serena, he finally said, pulling away. I'm your brother. Have some boundaries. We're not related by blood. I argued, and we used to date. We hug. Then mom and dad aren't home. Just one hug, please. My skin hunger is killing me. Skin hunger, he scoffed. Sounds like delusion to me. He looked at me sternly. Serena, we are never getting back together. Stop making up excuses. I froze. I let go of his arm. Okay, I get it then. And I dated in college. After we broke up, my mom married his dad. We became legal siblings, not biological, but close enough to make things awkward. We never talked about our past. A year ago, Ethan asked to get back together. I said no, I like the possessive, obsessive type. Ethan was too normal. I told him, Ethan, I'm your sister, we can't. Who knew he'd throw my own words back at me? Ethan works at his dad's company now. My mom says he's close with his secretary, Chloe. Maybe that's why he won't touch me. Or maybe our past relationship traumatized him. I went back into the bathroom and cranked the heat up. Suddenly, the water went cold. 1 shower a day, Ethan yelled. From outside, or I shut off the water, man. I couldn't sleep. My skin crawled. Ethan's room was next door. He texted me, can you stop? If you keep this up, move out. I thought for a second, fine, I'll move out tomorrow. I found a 2-bedroom apartment on Craigslist, 1st floor, garden access. My roommate was a 25-year-old guy named Julian. We lived together peacefully for 2 weeks. He was handsome, quiet, and cooked like a Michelin chef. He always made enough for 2, until tonight I was eating his homemade turisu. When texts started floating in the air. Run, he's a psycho, handcuffs under the pillow. He wants to lock you up, you're eating his food. Girl, you're the food. I peeked at Julian. Is he really a yandra? A psycho, obsessive type, and he's gorgeous. This is exciting. Ethan broke up with me because he thought I was a freak. I used to tell him, I wish you'd lock me up, buy some handcuffs. Okay. Ethan looked at me like I was a monster. Serena, you need help. Yes, I do. Once we got stuck in an elevator, Ethan was checking his watch, waiting for rescue. I was secretly hoping the rescue team would never come so we could die together in that metal box. Ethan was terrified by my thoughts. I broke up with him because he wasn't possessive enough. Back to reality. I finished the turisu. I take long showers. I told Julian, if you need to use the bathroom, go ahead. Norris, he said calmly, you go first. Okay. I went to my room to get a towel. As I closed the door, more text floated by. Want to see what Julian is doing right now? Look through the crack. I froze. I peeked through the gap in the door. Julian was in the living room. He dipped his finger into the leftover cream on my plate. He brought it to his lips and licked it off slowly. Then he looked up. His eyes met mine through the crack, dark, intense, and hungry like a predator. I slammed the door shut. My heart was pounding. He watched me eat every time. He never ate with me. Now I know why he eats my leftovers. So perverted, I love it. I walked out with my towel and pajamas. Julian was washing the plate in the sink. His back was straight, his demeanor cold and distant again. The cream-looking psycho never existed. I went into the bathroom. The text appeared again. You know why he waits for you to shower first? Because he likes to use your used. You have skin hunger. He has an addiction. Match made in heaven. My face burned. No way, that's too much. Is there more? He has hundreds of photos of you on his phone. What? How? He's a hacker, a genius. Your life is an open book to him. He hacked your phone ages ago. He knows your search history. Scary, right? You should run. I was getting more excited by the second scary. No, this is my dream. My search history is basically what does it feel like to date to Yandra. How to cure skin hunger. Dreams about being chained up. meaning how to attract a possessive man. If he hacked my phone, he knows exactly what I am. Of course he knows. He baited you with that rental ad. He's been obsessed with you for years. He says your name in his sleep. Wow, I turned the shower heat up. My skin hunger was raging. Hot water wasn't enough anymore. I wanted Julian, handcuffs under the pillow. Even better. I wondered what it would be like. A girl who needs touch and a man addicted to her. You guys wouldn't leave the bedroom for a week. You're a fish out of water. He's the ocean. He'll never let you go. Thirsty. The steam made me dizzy. I'm going to make him snap. The thought bloomed in my mind, hot and heavy, drowning out the ache in my nerves. I stepped out of the scalding water. My skin flushed a painful, brilliant red. The bathroom mirror was completely fogged over. I dragged a hand across the glass, watching the condensation drip down like tears. He's waiting right outside the door. The glowing text materialized in the damp air, hovering just above the sink. The letters were a jagged electric blue this time. He's listening to your breathing. He knows your heart rate just spiked. A shiver racked my body, but it had nothing to do with the cold. It was the thrill. For years, I had walked around with an invisible fire under my skin, begging for someone, anyone, to put it out. Ethan had been too weak. He treated my hunger like a disease, something to be cured with therapy and distance. But Julian was gasoline. I wrapped a plush white towel around my dripping body. It smelled faintly of cedar and something dark Julian scent. He had washed these towels. The fabric against my sensitive skin felt like a promise. I unlocked the bathroom door and pulled it open. Julian was leaning against the wall in the narrow hallway. The shadows clung to his sharp jawline, his dark hair falling slightly into his eyes. He didn't jump or startle when I opened the door. He just turned his head, his gaze dragging over me with agonizing slowness. From my wet hair down my flush neck, resting for a fraction of a second on the swell of my collarbone before locking onto my eyes. All yours, I whispered, my voice rougher than I intended. He didn't move immediately. You're burning up, he said. His voice was a low timbre that vibrated in the narrow space between us. Your skin, it's too red, Serena. He said my name like it was a secret he'd been keeping for years. I need the heat, I replied, stepping closer. I was so close I could feel the ambient warmth radiating off his chest. My skin hunger screamed at me to close the gap, to press my bare shoulder against his shirt, to bury my face in his neck. Just touch him, my brain begged. Just reach out. But I didn't. If I was the prey, I had to play my part. The water is still hot, I said, sliding past him. The friction of the air between us felt like sandpaper. He watched me walk to my bedroom. Only when my door clicked shut did I hear the bathroom door close. Coward, the floating text mocked, hovering over my bed. You should have touched him. But don't worry, the night is young. Go look under the pillow. My heart hammered against my ribs. I dropped my towel quickly, slipping into a thin silk nightgown. It offered zero protection against the chill of the room, but I didn't care. I cracked my bedroom door open. The shower was running. Julian was in there, moving like a ghost. I slipped out of my room and across the hall to his. Julian's room was impeccably clean, almost sterile. Blackout curtains, a massive desk weighed down by 3 curved monitors, a mechanical keyboard, and a server tower that hummed like a sleeping beast. But my eyes bypassed the tech and landed on the bed. It was perfectly made, dark grey sheets, 2 pillows. I crept toward it, the hardwood floor cold against my bare feet. I reached out, my fingers trembling slightly. I slipped my hand under the heavy down pillow on the right side. Cold metal bit into my fingertips. I pulled it out. It was a pair of heavy tactical grade steel handcuffs. They weren't a joke or a novelty toy. They were the kind meant to hold someone who was fighting back. Attached to the chain was a heavy leather strap designed to loop around a bedpost. A ragged breath escaped my lips. I traced the smooth steel. Most girls would be packing their bags, dialing 911, running out the front door into the safety of the night. I smiled. Told you. The text glowed against the dark curtains. He bought them 3 days after you moved in. Put them back. He'll know you touched them. I shoved the handcuffs back under the pillow, placing it exactly as I found it. But before I stood up, I deliberately pressed 2 fingers to my lips, leaving a faint streak of moisture, and pressed them onto the matte black frame of his nightstand. A tiny, almost invisible sign. I was here. I retreated to my room, slipping beneath the cold sheets of my bed. The ache of my skin hunger was a dull roar now, a physical agony that made my joints throb. I needed pressure, I needed weight. I pulled the blankets tight around my shoulders, burying my face in the pillow. The shower stopped. Footsteps padded softly down the hall. His door opened, closed. I lay there for what felt like hours, staring at the ceiling, waiting. The apartment was dead silent, save for the hum of the refrigerator. Eventually, exhaustion began to drag me under. The burning in my skin flared, a desperate plea for contact, but sleep offered a temporary escape. Click, my eyes snapped open. It was the sound of my bedroom door latch turning. My room was pitch black. I held my breath, the blood roaring in my ears. The door opened with a faint creak. A shadow detached itself from the hallway and stepped inside, closing the door behind it. The lock clicked into place. He locked it. Here he comes, little bird. The text whispered in a faint glowing silver in the corner of the room. Play asleep. I shut my eyes, forcing my breathing to remain slow and even. The floorboards didn't make a sound. Julian was moving with predatory grace. I could feel him before I could hear him. The air in the room shifted, growing heavier. Then the mattress dipped beside me. My heart was beating so violently, I was terrified it would bruise my ribs. The scent of cedar, soap, and male skin washed over me. He was kneeling beside my bed, leaning over me. A hand, impossibly warm and large, hovered inches from my cheek. I could feel the heat radiating from his palm. My skin reached for it like a dying plant reaching for the sun. His fingertips brushed a stray lock of hair away from my face. The contact was microscopic, but it sent a shock wave of electricity down my spine. I couldn't help it. A tiny, involuntary shudder rippled through me. Julian went perfectly still. He knew I was awake. I opened my eyes. In the dark, his eyes were obsidian pools, catching the faint ambient light from the street lamp outside. He was leaning over me, his face inches from mine. The mask of the quiet, distant roommate was gone. The man looking down at me was starving. "You're awake," he whispered. It wasn't a question. I couldn't sleep, I breathed back. "My skin hurts." "I know," his voice was a rasp, stripped of all its usual control. "I hear you tossing every night. I hear you crying in the shower. It drives me insane. Then do something about it." I challenged, my voice shaking with raw need. Julian's jaw tightened. "If I touch you, Serena, if I start, I won't stop. I won't be able to let you walk out of this room. Do you understand what I am, a yandra?" I whispered. He blinked, clearly startled that I knew the word, that I knew exactly what was happening. "I saw the handcuffs, Julian," I confessed into the dark. A heavy, suffocating silence descended. He didn't pull away. Instead, his gaze darkened to something lethal. He leaned closer until his lips were a breath away from mine. "And you didn't run," he murmured. "I'm still here." Julian let out a ragged sigh that sounded like a dam breaking. He buried his face in the crook of my neck, his arms sliding under me, pulling my body flush against his chest. The relief was instantaneous and violent. The fire under my skin extinguished the second his solid, heavy warmth enveloped me. I let out a choked sob, wrapping my arms around his broad shoulders, digging my nails into his back. It wasn't a gentle embrace, it was a collision. Mine. He breathed against my collarbone, his mouth hot against my skin. "God, finally you're mine." He kissed me in the dark. It wasn't sweet. It was territorial, devouring, a possessive claiming that tasted like desperation. His hands mapped my body with feverish intensity, pressing, holding, anchoring me to the bed and to him. The skin hunger that had tortured me for months dissolved into pure euphoric bliss. I pulled him closer, matching his desperate energy, letting him consume me. "Told you he was a feast." The text flickered one last time before winking out completely. 3 days later, I hadn't left the apartment. Honestly, I hadn't left Julian's bed. The prophecy had been right. He was the ocean and I was happily drowning. The past 72 hours had been a blur of skin, heat, and breathless confessions. Julian had brought my meals to the bed, feeding me bites of perfectly cooked steak and rich pastas from his own fork. Whenever I tried to get up to shower, he followed me, his hands refusing to leave my waist, washing my hair, mapping every inch of me until the hunger was completely satiated. He was addicted to me, and I was his willing drug. I was currently wearing one of his oversized black t-shirts, curled up in his spinning desk chair while he sat at his computer. The monitors illuminated his face in harsh blue light. He was typing lines of code at a blinding speed. I dragged my nail down his spine. He shivered, leaning back slightly to press into my touch. "How long have you been watching me?" I asked softly. Julian stopped typing. He spun the chair around, pulling me onto his lap. His hands instantly wrapped around my thighs, anchoring me to him. He pressed a kiss to my jaw. 2 years, he confessed without a hint of shame. "I was a senior network architect for the security firm your stepdad hired. I found a vulnerability in your home network. I meant to patch it, but I saw your webcam feed first." I gasped softly. 2 years. "I watched you break up with Ethan," Julian said, his voice dropping an octave, a dark, possessive edge bleeding into it. "I watched him call you a freak. I watched you cry. I hacked your phone. I read your diaries, your search history. I knew about the skin hunger. I knew what you secretly wanted, a man who would lock the door and throw away the key." He brushed a thumb over my lower lip. "I staged the Craigslist ad. I blocked the other applicants' emails so you were the only one who got the viewing. Everything was by design, Serena. Every meal I cooked, every time I made you shower first, you manipulated everything. I breathed. Yes. His eyes narrowed, searching my face for fear. Are you scared? I smiled, leaning down to bite his lower lip gently. I'm flattered. You did all that work just for me. A dark, triumphant smile spread across Julian's face. He crushed me against his chest, burying his face in my hair. You're perfect. You're completely twisted and you're perfect for me. Suddenly, a loud buzzing shattered the quiet intimacy of the room. My phone, resting on the nightstand, vibrated violently. The screen lit up. Incoming call. Ethan. Julian's body went rigid beneath me. The warmth in his eyes vanished, replaced by an icy, homicidal glare. He stared at the glowing screen like it was a venomous snake. Don't answer it, Julian commanded, his grip on my waist tightening until it almost bruised. I have to, I said softly, tracing his jawline. If I don't, he'll come looking. Let me deal with it. Julian hesitated, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. Finally, he nodded once, but he didn't let me go. He kept me on his lap, pressing his ear against my chest, his arms locked around me like a vice. I reached over and accepted the call, putting it on speaker. Hello, Serena. Ethan's voice blared through the tiny speaker. He sounded frantic, angry. Where the hell are you? I moved out, Ethan. I told you I would. You didn't leave an address. Mom and Dad called from Paris asking how you were doing. What am I supposed to tell them? That you ran off to live with some stranger from the internet because you're having another one of your psychotic episodes. Julian's hand moved up my spine, resting on the back of my neck. His thumb stroked my skin soothingly, but his eyes were blazing with a murderous light. I'm not having an episode, I said, my voice eerily calm. I found a place. I'm happy. You're not happy, Serena. You're sick. Ethan snapped. This skin hunger delusion. You need to see a doctor. I'm coming to get you. You don't know where I am. Are you stupid? Ethan scoffed. I used the family locator app on your phone. You forgot to turn it off. You're at an apartment complex on 4th and Elm. I'm pulling into the parking lot right now. Get your stuff. You're coming home. My blood ran cold. I looked down at Julian. Julian's face was devoid of expression, but his eyes were completely black. He slowly reached over and pressed the red button, ending the call. He's here, I whispered. I know. Julian lifted me off his lap, standing up. He moved with terrifying calm toward the heavy oak door of his bedroom. Julian, what are you going to do? He didn't answer. He walked into the living room. I followed him, my bare feet silent on the floorboards. Julian went to the kitchen island. He opened the top drawer, the one where he kept his meticulously sharpened chef's knives. The metallic slide of the drawer opening sounded deafening in the quiet apartment. Julian, no. I grabbed his wrist, not because I cared about Ethan, but because I couldn't lose Julian. If you kill him, you go to prison. I'm not going back to being starved. I won't survive without you. Julian looked down at my hand on his wrist. The desperate truth in my words seemed to pierce through his blinding rage. He slowly closed the door. Then we handle this my way, he whispered, turning to the front door. Bang, bang, fists pounded against the heavy wood of our front door. Serena opened the door. Ethan's voice muffled through the wood. Julian walked to the door. He didn't open it. He just flipped the deadbolt shut with a loud, definitive clack. Then he slid the heavy metal chain into place. Serena, I know you're in there. Ethan yelled, open up or I'm calling the police. I'm telling them some creep is holding you hostage. Julian leaned down, his mouth inches from the door seam. His voice was low, smooth, and terrifyingly polite. She's not a hostage, Ethan. She just doesn't want to see you. Silence from the hallway. Then Ethan's voice laced with confusion and bravado. Who the A circumflex are you? Let her out. I can't do that, Julian replied smoothly. He stepped back, pulling me flush against his side, wrapping a heavy arm around my shoulders. She belongs to me now. A circumflex, Serena, are you listening to this psycho? Ethan kicked the door. I'm calling the cops. Do it, Julian said calmly. He pulled out his phone, tapping a few buttons. But before you dial 911, you might want to check your email, Ethan. I just sent you a zip file. What? I said check your phone, the company accounts. The embezzled funds you routed to your Secretary Close offshore account. The explicit photos you took on the company servers. If a police cruiser pulls into this lot, I press one button and that entire file goes to your father, the board of directors, and the IRS. I stared at Julian in awe. A hacker, a genius. He really had prepared for everything. Through the door I heard Ethan swear loudly. You hacked me. Who the hell are you? I'm the man who is taking care of your sister, Julian said, his voice dropping to a dark, lethal whisper. She told you she was burning alive and you told her she was dirty. You threw her away, so I picked her up. She is mine. She will never step foot in your house again. She will never text you, call you, or look at you again. If you ever come within 100 yards of her, I will ruin your life so thoroughly that suicide will feel like an upgrade. Do you understand me? The silence that followed was absolute. Get off my porch, Ethan, Julian commanded. I listened, holding my breath. A minute passed, then the sound of heavy, defeated footsteps walking away. A car door slammed in the distance. An engine started and the tire squealed as Ethan sped out of the parking lot. Julian let out a long exhale. He dropped his phone onto the entryway table and turned to me. He's gone, I whispered. He's never coming back, Julian corrected, cupping my face in his hands. He looked down at me, his eyes burning with an obsession so intense it felt tangible. Nobody is ever taking you away from me. You're mine too. Feed mine to touch, mine to lock away. I leaned into his palm, a wicked, satisfied smile spreading across my lips. The ache in my skin was entirely gone, replaced by a deep, resonant warmth. Then lock me away, Julian. He didn't hesitate. He swept me into his arms, carrying me back down the hallway toward his bedroom. The shadows of the apartment seemed to close and around us, a protective cocoon shielding us from a world that had never understood us. He dropped me onto the center of his bed. I watched, my heart pounding a frantic, joyful rhythm against my ribs as he reached under the pillow. He pulled out the heavy steel handcuffs. The metal clinked loudly in the quiet room. He looped the thick leather strap around the iron bar of his headboard, pulling a taut. He crawled over me, his weight pressing me down into the mattress. He grabbed my right wrist, his thumb pressing into my pulse point. No taking these off, Julian whispered, his breath hot against my ear. You stay here with me forever. Forever, I echoed. Click, the steel jaws snapped shut around my wrist. The cold metal was a stark contrast to his burning touch. I was trapped, bound to a hacker, a stalker, a yandra who would rather watch the world burn than let me go. It was the most terrifying thing in the world, and I had never felt safer. As Julian lowered his mouth to my neck, biting down hard enough to leave a mark that would last for days, my vision blurred. Out of the corner of my eye, a familiar blue text floated across the dark ceiling one final time. Game over. You win. The letters dissolved into the darkness, leaving me to the beautiful, monstrous feast of the man who finally knew how to satisfy my hunger. If you like the story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.